How's it going, Gemini community? Now, y'all know who it is. It's Soul Tigress with what? A special story, not Tory, story, just for this frequency. Thank you for your patience and time as I navigate between the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, and everything in between. Now remember that this is a safe and sacred space where we call in the angels, ancestors, guides, as well as divine and universal energy to come in and be the guides and protectors for the positive messages. Now, keep in mind that this channel here is based on self-empowerment. This means creating the stepping stones for us to get connected with our soul being a little bit more, a little bit deeper, or even opening up the idea to. All right? So let's go ahead and get started with the vibe that's coming in. So right away, frustration in this frequency. I don't like it. It's just very frustrating. But it feels like the frustration that's being worn by the Gemini frequency, it covers something else up. It's something. It's blanketing something else. And what I get is once we kind of address this, there's going to be some kind of cork popping situation that's going to happen. So when we think of popping bottles, popping corks and stuff like that, what I see is the cork, it takes some finagling to get it off of there, right? And then it hits the point where you're ready to watch it pop, and you have to be careful because this can pop and take somebody's eye out or something, right? But what happens after the cork pops? Tons is coming out, tons and tons. So this is going to be a lot of emotional release. Something's going to finagle something, and then poof. But remember, a lot of times when we're popping bottles like this and we got corks flying in places, it's usually a time where we're celebrating. So at the very end of what happens, it's going to be something to celebrate. I don't know. I don't know what this is. I'm just picking up the vibe. I don't know. So it is shadow work that is calling upon this frequency. I have my crow's deck here. Some of the images can be a little grotesque, so I will let you know if one of those come out, and I will give some kind of special signal when I have pulled it back from the camera. So the reason why I use this deck is because a lot of times this deck kind of could depict our imaginations and how the shadow side really pulls at us. But I really feel like this is a multi-dimensional lesson here, because even before I picked the crow's deck, I actually have my raven here. My raven or crow, excuse me if I'm getting it wrong. But they really speak about multi-dimensional views. So we're going to be looking at this multi-dimensional view. And what I'm getting with these kind of birds, they're very smart. They're very smart. And what it is they're gift givers too. Like, to the people that they're loyal to, they will bring them gifts. And there's something here in this multi-dimensional view that we're being asked to look at from the shadow side. And there may be some gifts that comes in from the other side. I don't know how else to put that. But that's up to each person to interpret the way they choose to. So definitely this is going to be led by the moon's energies. And this could be dealing with others and other people unknowingly triggering the Gemini in this story. Or it could be purposely triggering the Gemini in this story. But reframe and restraint is what's important for Gemini. This is gonna be important in a sense where you don't overcompensate in those areas either. Knowing when to reframe and restrain your opinion, but also knowing when it's not time for that. A person who practices patience all the time could miss opportunities because they're being too patient. That's the example I'm said to use. So it's definitely not overcompensating. And this overcompensation comes, again, being triggered by these triggers, and it being led by guilt. So one of the most important messages here for the Gemini frequency is to stand in your personal power. This will help give a direction. What direction is that? It's a fool's journey direction into a whole new cycle. Maybe being able to let bygones be bygones, I'm hearing. Patience is for the win. Mismatched views. Chaos versus calm. And I quote, "What are the moments that make us feel the most alive?" Ooh, that was interesting, that last one, that question, because that had me pondering right away. When are the moments that we feel most alive? If you really think about the moments where the routines were the really same routine, nothing was happening, we don't really reflect on those moments. The moments that we remember the most are the ones that were really emotionally charged, whether negative or positive. So how is it that we can navigate our views from into chaos, into calm, and being able not to put them at views to be at war? Like it's something you either have one or you have the other, but there's a sense of being able to blend both and understanding the times of calmness versus when the times of chaos comes in, and how both play an important part of our lives. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Whew, that's interesting. Very interesting. Gemini, I like the vibe. You have my full attention this frequency. I am intrigued as a fellow air sign. I'm even more intrigued by the first deck that I was asked to use, because I just don't feel like we're gonna be spilling the tea on others in a sense. So I'm very curious on how I'm going to be asked to translate this one. So let's spill the tea here on what's going on. What is it for this Gemini frequency? What is it that needs to come out for the introduction? All right. So I have creativity in reverse. I have wasting time in upright, and I have want to back. We're confused on something. Now, like I said, I'm going to be translating this a little bit different. So let's go. Want you back, wasting time, creativity. I feel like there's a lot of reflecting into the past. But this past that we keep reflecting onto, it's like we go to the same window, to the same view, but we haven't been bored of this view yet. Say that there's other windows in this house, other sceneries. We just keep looking back to that one sense. And I feel like this is what could hold up being able to see something different, creativity, creating a new kind of outcome. A new kind of outcome with whatever we keep looking back into with this past. What else needs to come out? always partying. There's definitely a time that we are confused about with this always partying. When it comes to, it could have been others who were partying. It could have been to ourselves feeling like we were always partying. It could be confused on the very things that we think we're supposed to celebrate. Maybe certain moments that, you know, we felt like we should have been happier at. Whoa, talking shit. Confused. Confused on what was what of this past. What was what when it came to what happens when we keep looking back into this other view. We could see it only from one way, so we only speak about it from one way. But again, we're only looking back through that one window. What else needs to come out? Oh, okay. So we have a dirty offer. This tells me there was a time here where there was something that really felt like there was a monster in the closet. A monster in the closet when it came to somebody that we were supposed to be close with. A situation, a relationship. Something that I feel like we think that we know. We think we know the facts about it, even though we don't have this researching you, study, getting you, looking you up. This could be because we've looked at it from so many different points of view. We've technically only looked at it from that one view, but always going back to this view every single day would have you memorizing this view. Mesmerized by this view. That's weird. Let me get another one. Happiness hater. I feel like you think you know, but you don't know. What we don't understand is in this day and age, we run to Google for everything. Sometimes even Google doesn't even have the right answers. But we feel so empowered by thinking we do have something that we can hold in our very hands or have it in our grasp that feels like the right answer. And I feel like this has to do around a time where you felt like there was somebody who was targeting you. Maybe somebody who kind of had it out for you in a sense. Maybe somebody who couldn't bring happiness in a situation, person, place, or thing. I told you this was going to be interesting. I am not sure what's going to happen here. But there's a lot here, but there's only one real way of looking at it, and we definitely have a grasp here of seeing that we have the right answer, or feeling like we have the right answer. But if it was the right answer, then why do we keep looking back onto this? What is the actual emotional view? What is it that we're not seeing that's hidden off in the shadows here? Remember that shadow side. Why does it feel like you never had the offer you wanted? Or the offer that should have been given? What else? All right, excuse me. Ancestors, angels, what needs to come out? Four of Swords here. Four of Swords, usually stuck energy, could be illness, could be sickness. I have it in the reverse. I have blurred vision here. Blurred vision onto whoever this was in the past. And the blurred vision comes from the emotional side of this Gemini. Oh, Geminis, they don't think you're sensitive. You are sensitive. You are very sensitive. It's because you care so much. What else needs to come out? Justice. For this relationship that we wanted close to us, was hoping would embrace us differently. And the dirty offer. What I get is this is a higher self kind of justice that got to be brought in. Maybe you are looking at it from a higher view, but it's only from the one side. It's only from seeing always just the monster. And not seeing what created the monster in a sense, what let the monster in, how did the monster get in? What I get is like having a hole in your home and mice being able to get in. And you're hearing the mice, you know the mice are there. And it's kind of like we've dealt with the mice, but we're not going and seeing how the mice are getting into the home. It's not going to the root of it. It's being more scared of the fact that we have a mouse in the home. I hope that makes sense. Alright, what else needs to come out? This happiness hater really affects you. It's something that wasn't celebrated. It could have been in a toxic environment. I have this Three of Cups in reverse. This person could have either been overly emotional or really emotionally withdrawn. The situation, person, place, or thing. Let's get a little bit more. So what I get is we have the new versus the old. Where you're at now versus where you came from for the Gemini in this story. And then I have the Ten of Swords in upright. And this is the Halls of Illusion. This is Geminis, I appreciate you. So please take the next comment with a grain of salt. But like I told the Taurus community, sometimes tough love needs to be given. And this is the place for it. It's being in this halls of illusions, the old versus the new, where you came from versus where you're at now, the calm versus the storm. That actually, and I love y'all's, but it got part of you being the happiness hater. What? How did I get to that conclusion with the new versus the old? Because Gemini, you are twins. There's two of you. There is two different views. It's why you talk to yourself a lot. I talk to myself a lot too. I like myself though. I have good conversations with myself. I get along with myself pretty well. But anyways, what I get is right here. This is one part of Gemini. right here is another part of Gemini. I have a Gemini who can be at where they're at in moments at times, but just like the sunset or the sunrise, it doesn't last forever. And these times of the day don't last as long as the day or the night. So they can be here at times, but when this time of the day is gone, it's a different side to them. What I hear is that snap. Remember that snap to life, snap back to reality. No, it's back to life, back to reality. Yeah, I hear that. There you go. It's like you can live at the success of where you've gotten to. You give yourself just a little bit of permission to be there. But then you come out of that. And it has to do with whatever you think you know or what you have known that you're grasped onto. Wow, this is getting really interesting. All right, what else needs to come out? So we have a view. An I believe view. What does this I believe view have to do with? I believe that better things can happen. But you're not seeing better things can happen. You can demolition out the old to build this new. It's the Six of Cups in reverse. It's having to reconstruct this past time, this past self, the past view into past self, past experience. This is what I'm getting a lot of. This can be directly with the community. For the new moon, full moon, it is both community driven, both of them. This is why others are going to be the triggers here. Let's go ahead and get a clarity card for the Six of Cups in reverse. What is the clarity card for the Six of Cups in reverse? That's a lot. So when it comes to dealing with this past, others in the past, not being able to celebrate with them, when you look back, it wasn't ways of celebrating. There wasn't much to celebrate back then. You're feeling like, or you're looking back and you're just like, ugh, with it. So immature, laziness, lack of ambition, crisis, and confidence. You've lost belief in your abilities. This card signals a low point in your life. Any facet of your life is at risk. Your future is in doubt. Possible lost job, home or loved one, relationship trouble, broken engagement. Deal with the reality of your situation. This is for the Six of Cups. This is your past. This is when you look into your past. This is how it's making your present self feel. We also have the Nine of Wands. Obstacles in your way, disappointments and setbacks. You will be exhausted from trying to accomplish something. It will be impossible to achieve what you want. It simply is not meant to be, and no amount of effort or determination will change that. You may have to settle for your second choice. And what we're not seeing, it's a Seven of Cups in reverse. You're dealing with a life on a very superficial level. You are dealing with life on a very superficial level. There is a lack of action, disappointment over relationships that did not work. You are deceiving yourself. Possible bad decisions. Consider your moves carefully. Action is necessary for positive outcome. So when we reflect into the past friends, past relationships, past endeavors with others, is we only see the blocks from them. We don't see how we've gained from them, in a sense. That's what I'm getting from that. I mean, if you're always looking, this is like a child who only sees the bad qualities of the parents that they had. And so when they grow up, they are really critical of themselves when they feel like they're going to follow that path of their parents. They're trying to avoid it at any extent. So anything that reminds them of a negative part or a negative trait that their parent had, they will overcompensate to avoid it. This is what I'm getting from that. I'm hearing one more card for the present. What else needs to come out for the present? We have the Sun card up here. So for the Justice, it's definitely giving yourself permission, action, to believe again, to have this movement into seeing a different kind of judgment. Maybe an openness to letting go what once was. Seeing that, hey, if this doesn't feel right, I'm not going to go that way. Maybe it's opening up to where you want to be. Do you want to be up on your head on stuff? Do you want to be going down places that you really don't feel like you belong or you're safe? And switching it for places where you have clearer views. And this could be all metaphorically for how you feel inside about things. What is it that we're still holding on to that we could have resentment towards? We could have some kind of anger towards as well with this Judgment in reverse. Judgment is going to be Libra, so it's going to be something that we're out of balance with. It's Sagittarius. It's something that we felt like we had no control over, in a sense, when it came about or when it was happening. We also have the Leo here, will. It's something that we feel like pulls out our direct willpower, maybe somewhere where we feel like we didn't have a willpower. And then the last one is Aries, awareness. This is where we start to, this would be the one with Aries, would be how somebody would blame themselves for situations that were outside of their control, even though the whole time it was outside of their control when it was happening. All right, so let's go ahead and take a dive into the block for the Gemini frequency. Angels of protection, help guide our way as we navigate the shadow side here for the Gemini frequency. What is it that needs to come out? So, having a complete cycle when it comes to the things that have trapped you in your halls of illusion, the very thing that you're grasping onto as your truth. Also recognizing the combativeness of the past, because a Queen of Wands who is not in the full upright position and who's going towards a reverse position is a very combative energy. And this one's looking to go knock somebody's block off. And what I have is kind of looking back onto that. What is it that you can see differently? What is it with this World card? Because with the Hangman here, I believe Pisces, mystical love, mystical beliefs. What is it that you have concreted in your beliefs? Remember that thing that you're grasped onto. What else needs to come out for the block? What was it? What was it? What I'm hearing, what was the tall tales and what was the truth? What I get is like a fishing story. You know how somebody says that they almost caught the biggest fish, or it was the biggest fish ever, and you're not really sure if it really happened because they said it got away. It's kind of like that. What was it in these stories that we were trying to get away from? What was the truth that we were actually hiding from? This has to do with a lot of the different doors of the past. And then I have a 7 of Swords here. What I get is this past really, really, really makes Gemini feel weak in a sense. They're weakened at the thought of even going back and looking at this past. If this past really, really affects you to the core like this, because I have the 7 swords, and then I have the Ace of Swords right here, which would make it 8. And then I have the 10 of Swords right here. Honestly, Gemini, I would really welcome you into investing and being open to taking the time to seek out counseling with a professional to help unpack this, because this is a lot to unpack. What I'm getting, whatever it is about this past that we keep looking back on with the one view, it has a lot of different areas in our lives, different doors into our inner home that is tied to Gemini. That's what I get with that. And what I also get is trying to unpack it all by yourselves. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. I don't like to say anything's impossible, but if you do it all by yourself, what I'm getting is you could miss something. You could miss a view, you could miss a concept, you could miss a tool. Because what happens when we get over emotional on things, it's kind of like what they used to tell, like, I grew up watching a lot of different movies in the 90s, and one of the things I remember, whether it came to the movies or the cartoons, when it came to like the fighting and the martial arts, was you never wanted to enter a fight, enter the ring, and lead the fight with anger, because that will cloud your judgment. And what I get is that kind of same concept here is when you start to enter this part of the shadow side and opening up to this part of yourself, is there's a lot of emotional buildup here, especially when it comes to the things that we're passionate about or the very passionate views that we have. But that's also enhanced with the mind. The mind's concept, but also construction, the way the mind has constructed things up until this point, and to help bring you back down at times. That's where having a professional, somebody to sit and counsel with, is gonna be like an extra tool, to where it's not dumping everything out, it's merely unpacking one thing at a time and the things that we're ready to unpack. This is something that's going to take time, and it's definitely something that once worked on, it could really change things for Gemini in this story. It could change their outlook, it could change their the way that they see things, they see people, they see relationships, even the way that they see their past. Let's keep moving forward. Alright, so what else needs to come out? We have the Star come out. It has to do with this past. Whatever it was, Gemini, it's definitely your driving force to get to the things that you are doing now. But it's also the driving force for the very critical view that you have. I don't get that critical view is just into the past. This critical view reaches what I'm getting as a full 360. This could be a very block that you have. When we talk about this critical view reaching 360, it could have to deal with the way that things are fulfilled for you, how you are fulfilled, how much you can be fulfilled, I should say. Fulfilled by what? Other people, other offerings, being brought in by others, because this is another hand here. Alright, get ready. It's one of those images. Here we go. And here comes the Eight of Swords. Confused. Confused on how that entraps us. Then I have this Empress. Or I lied, it's the High Priestess. We have High Priestess, which is going to be Cancerian. Could have to deal with the very ways that we care about others, or how we see others that care about us, what we accept from others. It's like sometimes when we feel like we didn't have something in particular at one time, we'll overcompensate with it when we do get it. So what this has to do is this has to deal with a nurturing kind of energy here. A nurturing, intuitive, maybe uplifting kind of thing. But this was not depicted in the past here. So I could have a Gemini who kind of runs at odds ends on how to give that kind of nurturing energy to others, how to display a certain kind of personality trait, certain kind of behavior, certain kind of parenting style, certain kind of social skill. Because Gemini, third house, relating to others, or relating to one's environment, I should say. So this, I would feel like, really, really at the core, what I'm getting is you don't know how much people truly care about you. And because that is the direct block and the shadow side built up from a past, it's this grasp that you hold on to. You could even be at a point where you feel like you care more about others than others do about you. And that's what keeps you stuck and not feeling fulfilled. Or feeling fulfilled by, how do I put this? 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 What I'm getting is like a social setting. Parent and child is the best example. Teacher and student is another good example. But what it comes down to is like somebody who flourishes when they're given a mentor, a teacher, or a parent who is very nurturing to them. They're able to display those same kind of nurturing mechanisms, nurturing style that was given to them by the mentor, the parent. But I have a Gemini who's missing something here. They feel like they were missing something. And because there was that feeling of missing something, we've overcompensated in one direction, where Gemini puts a lot of themselves out there for others. But when it comes to them holding confidence that others feel the same way about them, at the core, Gemini doesn't think so. Wow, you got the Gemini, you win. You got the biggest wallop. You have the biggest wallop. Wow. Thank you. Thank you to the Gemini frequency for being open enough to share this with me. This is something that is really tender, really touching, very vulnerable side to Gemini. In all the Geminis that I've known, I've never seen this part to Gemini. I've always had a very sneaky, like that, sneaky suspicion though. Because the Geminis, they'll hold you at bay. Like, you can have a Gemini close to you, but their closeness is you like a yardstick length away. I'm not gonna lie. Just like any earth sign, they are very caring, they're compassionate, they're very charismatic. You know, they will give the shirts off their back to the people that they love. You know, they will go all in for what they believe in. But you never really see them letting a lot of people in. All right, so let's continue. Let's see what the advice is. Let's see what the positive messages are for the Gemini frequency. What is it? Divine and universal energy. What are the positive messages for the Gemini frequency? Oh. And the universe says to Gemini, I love you. What do you mean? I'll tell you, let me show you. You are good enough. Full moon in Virgo. Oh, what does Rafiki say on The Lion King? Yes, Simba. The past. The past can hurt. But we can't go back there. We can't rewrite it. But how you heal that past is being gentle with yourself. It's taking care of yourself. Gemini, a lot of hygiene. Taking care of yourself, taking a step back. Taking a step back. Maybe even being gentle with yourself. Taking time with yourself. All right, what else needs to come out? Whoa, ho, ho. In order to get past this, we have to be open to a powerful change. Expect a powerful change to come about. And that powerful change is going to come into the way that we look at the past, the way that we look at the stuck energies of others, or it could be illness of others when it comes to unblurring the emotional vision that we have in the past. Ooh. A lot has to go back to this past. Now, the energy is gaining momentum. I feel like this comes out in reverse because we have a very stuck view. A very one way of going right now, and maybe we have to do something just a wee bit different. The wee bit different could be being open to releasing the negativity. Scorpio energy, transformation through relationships. Oh, bother. You got one of these lessons. So this happened. This happened so that you could become the person that you are today. What do you mean? That doesn't make sense. If it was something that I don't agree with, it's something bad, it's something that makes me feel like crap about myself. What do you mean? Well, that's you only holding on to the negativity of it. What is the positivity? Because there are moments, and this is what I'm seeing right now. Let me show you. You have bliss. There is happiness here. But how can you see those blessings for more, longer part, or even all of the day? How can that be the view that you lead with instead of leading with the view of upset, anger, resentment, bitterness? Because this view has been worked on over the years. I can't say the exact trigger that's behind the view, but I feel like we hint at it here. And it's going to be believing in the impossible. But one thing is when we hold on to certain expectations, certain outcomes, especially when it comes to our past, is because we are holding others, situations to a certain standard. And what happened is this situation didn't meet the ideal standard. And because we can't accept the situation for what it is, and instead we only see the failure of it. That's what we hold on to, is the failure of it. And we just kind of sit there and we walk around with it and walk around with it instead of saying, okay, well, let's let this go. What is something else that I can grasp onto? But for 8th house energy for Scorpio, it's directly transformations through relationships. Whatever the situation is, person, place, or thing from the past, it had to happen to bring you to where you are right now. There's something here that you're like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be like that. I'm not going to work for another business like that. That was the driving force for you to be able to go in whatever direction you did. But what's holding you back is revisiting this window of the past, of what happened in the past, what was unjust in the past, or what you wish that would have been brought in justice for. Alright, so let's go ahead and get one more card. What is the last card for the Gemini frequency? Last few cards. Alright, what I'm getting is get the tissue boxes ready. I'm just going to put it out there. Get the tissue boxes ready, because when you're ready to let go onto that idea, that one way of knowing that you're grasped onto, the waterworks are going to come. And remember I was telling you about that emotional release earlier, where you're going to be like, Wah! And then like 10 minutes into it, you're going to kind of like start laughing, because everything's going to click. Somehow everything is gonna click for you, but you have to release first, because a person who keeps visiting the same view, the same window, has unfinished business there. They haven't finished it. They haven't wrapped it up. They haven't concluded it. So what else are we seeing? Step out of your comfort zone. I know you don't want to. I know you don't want to. I know that you're doing everything to avoid this. That's why it's being brought out here. But it has the energy of, you've been there, you've done this for years. And what I get is your guides and your ancestors are like, it's done. It has been written. There's no more to it. It is what it is. And it's time for you to move forward. It's time for you to step out of suffering for a past that you can't change. Luck is on your side. New moon in Sagittarius. We just had that at the beginning of December. Luck is on your side because there's some kind of truth here that's going to be revealed. Something that you're going to see. Something that's going to bring a bigger understanding. And adjustments are required. Anytime we let go of the past, anytime we want to do something that is different than what we have been doing, it requires adjustments. And it's not just one time, it's a everyday thing, and it's gonna be always being open to adjusting in a sense. So what I can say is what we have happening with the shadow side is like, what I'm hearing to describe it is like you've been programmed one way. But when we start to face the shadow side, it's a big deprogramming of what we once knew. It's going in and it's erasing almost everything except for the core lessons that were given. the core makeup, the core blueprint, the core foundation. Because if you erase everything, we erase ourselves. And it's through our experiences that make us an individual. It's through our experiences that we gain the perspective. But here, when you go to a different window, a different room in your sacred home, and you look at it upon a different view, what is it that you can see? If you look at it from a higher view, what is it that you will see? One thing I told somebody today, I actually told a Libra this today, was I see the view that you're looking at, and the view you're looking at is through the view of that person at that time. This is why you're so hard on yourself, I told him. I go, could you open up to using the view you have now as a parent and looking back into the past with just that view? And how, when you take a different view and you look at something, how it's going to change what you're viewing. Because from then until now, we have grown and we have been through a lot of things. From then until now, we are not the same. No matter if you stood doing the same thing the whole time and you swore up and down that you would never change, there has been some small changes along the way. That's called evolving or adapting. If you never change from then until now, then how do you operate a smartphone? It's through change. So, I mean, if we look at it this way, if I was to take a phone from 2005 and I took a smartphone from this day and age, and I was trying to compare them, to sell them both at the same price, you can't, there's no comparison. There's a big freaking difference in the evolution of the technology, right? So that's what I'm getting at. You can't compare old you to new you. There's been a big evolution. What you can do though is you can look back through the new you, the evolved you's vision, the evolved you's knowledge, and look back on everything and see it from that perspective. Not the perspective where everything was your fault in some sense. Not the perspective where you felt like you would be damned if you turned out some certain way. Because obviously you didn't turn out that way. So how is it that we can use this new you to go in and heal the old you? That's powerful. That is powerful. Oh, Gemini, the divine loves you. Your angels, ancestors, and spirit guides love you. And I'm not seeing any devil energy out here. I'm not seeing this whole past of somebody who really, energies that really had it out for you. I'm not seeing that. But I am seeing a really harsh view into this past. And I'm seeing how this harsh view of this past is holding this Gemini back from being closer to others. So be open to this month. Mind those triggers. Mind those triggers, because it's shadow work that's happening. And I get that around the full moon. I keep seeing Cancerian. Something's gonna pop up. Something's gonna pop up. But when you reflect, again, reflect back from the new you. Okay? Alright, so this is going to conclude it, or I'm going to stay rambling and talking and just a blah, 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 blah. But we're not all going to like that for too much longer, right? So, don't forget to thank your angels, ancestors, spirit guides, as well as who? Divine and universal energy. And most importantly, thank you for hanging out. And I hope you have a most wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.